Mr. President,
Democratic leader.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Well,
The
Mr.
Senate's not in a quorum call. Senator is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in a few short hours, we'll vote on the motion to proceed to the House Republican health care bill. I'll have more to say on the matter prior to the vote. At the moment, no one knows the plan that's being cooked up in the Republican leader's office, but it seems to be his intention to do whatever it takes to pass anything, no matter how small, to get the House and Senate Republicans into a conference on health care. Surprisingly, I've heard that my friend, the junior senator from Kentucky, will vote yes on the motion to proceed. He announced it himself. It's true he'll likely get a vote on the motion to repeal without replace, but surely he knows that will fail. Why then would the junior senator from Kentucky, a man who has preached the repeal of the Affordable Care Act root and branch, a man who has proselytized the Republicans should stop at nothing short of full repeal, why would the junior senator from Kentucky vote on the motion to proceed, knowing he won't get what he wants? It's because I believe that he and some of the others in this body know that if the Senate manages to pass a conference in the House, the likely compromise in the House, in the conference, is either a full repeal of the Affordable Care Act or something close to it. It will certainly mean drastic cuts in Medicaid, huge tax cuts for the rich, no help for those with pre-existing conditions, and millions losing health care, particularly in our poorer and more rural states. That's the only thing that our Republicans have been able to agree on. The hard right Freedom Caucus in the House would never accept a Republican bill that only repeals a few regulations in the ACA but leaves much of it in place. No, they want full repeal and at minimum deep cuts to Medicaid, huge tax breaks for the wealthy, and millions in every state in this nation losing their health care. To my Republican friends who have repeatedly said that full repeal without replace would be a disaster, to my Republican friends who have opposed the deep and drastic cuts to Medicaid, I say to you, don't be fooled by this ruse. A vote in favor of the motion to proceed will mean deep cuts to Medicaid, maybe even deeper than in the House bill. It will mean people with pre-existing conditions will be left high and dry. It will mean huge tax breaks for the wealthiest of Americans. It will mean millions will lose their coverage. So all the complaining, why we're here at this late moment, because even the House bill was too drastic for many of the members here, is now being ignored on this motion to proceed. Because we all know the ruse that's going on. The ruse is send it back to the House and then we'll see what they send us. We know what they'll send us. We may not know every detail. It will either be full repeal without replace or something far too close to that. And all of the work, all of the anguish that so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have shown in the last several weeks will be wasted. Because they know darn well what's going to happen when there's a conference. There are no Democratic votes in the House. The Freedom Caucus calls the shots. They will either ask for full repeal or something very close to it. So make no mistake about it. A vote in favor of the motion to proceed this afternoon will be a permission slip to slash Medicaid, hurt millions, and raise taxes on the wealthy, something the vast majority of Americans in every state, a large percentage of Republicans and Trump voters abhor. One last plea to my colleagues: do not fall for the ruse that the majority leader is putting together. We know what's going on. We all know. Our constituents won't be fooled. Oh no. We on this side are not fooled. Oh no. And I hope my colleagues, who out of compassion and care for the people in their states have made such a fuss up to now, won't be fooled either. On another matter, Mr. President, in recent days, President Trump has gone out of his way to undermine his own Attorney General, his first supporter, has been reported to be his best friend in the Senate. He has tweeted scathing criticism of Attorney General Sessions, chastised him publicly for recusing himself from the Russia investigation and several other perceived failures in the eyes of the president. We should all take a moment to think of how shocking these comments are on a human basis. This is for Donald Trump, who was with him through thick and thin. And now, even if the president has disagreements with him, which I think are ill-founded, self-centered, and wrong, you don't ridicule him in public. Someone who is your close friend, that speaks to character. But I would like to speak to the major issue before us, which is related. It's clear that President Trump's trying to bully his own Attorney General out of office. How can anyone draw a different conclusion? If President Trump had serious criticisms of his Attorney General, why not talk to him in person? Why air his grievances so publicly? He wants him out. Here's the danger. Many Americans must be wondering if the president is trying to pry open the office of Attorney General to appoint someone during the August recess who will fire Special Counsel Mueller and shut down the Russian investigation. First, let me state for the record now, before this scheme gains wings, Democrats will never go along with the recess appointment if that situation arises. We have some tools in our toolbox to stymie such action. We're ready to use every single one of them, any time, day or night. It's so vital to the future of the Republic. And second, I cannot imagine my friends on the Republican side, and particularly in the Republican leadership, my friend, the Majority Leader, who I have great respect for, and Speaker Ryan, I can't imagine they would be complicit in creating a constitutional crisis. They must work with us and not open the door to a constitutional crisis during the August recess. One last item, Mr. President. I know there's a lot going on today, but I just want to mention one item from the House of Representatives. Later, the House is going to take up and hopefully pass with near unanimity a sanctions bill that includes strong sanctions against Russia, Iran, North Korea. It's critical the Senate act promptly on this legislation. I will work with the Majority Leader, as I have in recent weeks, to ensure its swift passage so we can get it to the President's desk before we leave for recess. Thank you, and I yield the floor.